So first of all, I want to thank Peter and Percona for putting on a great event this year again, and thank you for inviting me this year again. Today I'm going to be talking about SQL, NoSQL with MySQL, and I think before we jump into that topic, I do want to spend just a minute or two on 5.7. I know we've been talking about 5.7 for many times during previous conferences. I want to just make sure that everybody is aware that 5.7 is GA. I will not go into a lot of details. I will just highlight a few things that's relevant for the topic. But if you want to learn more about 5.7, I encourage you to go to Geir's and Simon's talk at 4:30 this afternoon, where you'll get all the details around 5.7, what's new in 5.7, and also about booking and their usage of 5.7, where they already have hundreds of servers in production. So make sure you go to that talk if that's of interest. And since everybody's going to be disappointed unless I show a slide like this, I make sure, okay, again, 5.7 is so much faster than the previous versions. We continue just to push the limit. On point selects here, we are up to 1.6 million queries per second, which is a huge number, of course. Coming back to 5.7 and some features of relevance for today's talk is, of course, our JSON story. So for those of you who haven't read up on MySQL 5.7 and JSON, we have a native JSON data type in 5.7, built-in JSON functions, a lot of very advanced stuff around JSON, which is the core of our NoSQL story. You can index the documents, and we have a new inline syntax for easy SQL integration. The other part that's very important to the story is group replication. You've seen previews of this, betas of this. It's going to be a plugin that comes into 5.7 in the fall timeframe. It's a active update anywhere technology that plugs into the server. It has things like automatic group membership management, failure detection, and things like that. And I think the core thing here is it's very well integrated into the MySQL servers. It leverages things in InnoDB, GTID, and performance schema. So it's going to be a core component in 5.7 moving forward. Which brings us to the topic of today. And I'm going to let Mike Zinner, who heads up the effort around this, introduce this with a video. So please play the video.
For over 40 years, the relational model has dominated the database market. On the other hand, the document model has gained a great deal of traction in the past few years, and for many good reasons. We think there is a great synergy in a combined solution. MySQL is now bringing both models together. Today we're introducing a new server feature called the MySQL Document Store. The MySQL Document Store allows developers to work with relational tables and schemaless JSON collections in parallel. To make that possible from a single API, we've created what we call the XDEF API. The XDEF API puts a strong focus on both SQL and CRUD by providing a fluent API, allowing you to work with JSON documents in a natural way. It introduces new concepts like X sessions that prepare your applications to naturally grow and scale out. This massive scale-out will be made possible by the new MySQL X protocol. The X protocol is a brand new, highly extensible protocol that is optimized for both SQL and CRUD API operations. It is based on a popular open-source protocol definition language, making it easy to route over the network, leading the way to transparent data sharding and more in the future. The MySQL Document Store is the first step in many we've planned. We think that our plans will change how MySQL is used by developers and DBAs. This work was driven by feedback from the community, and we are looking forward for more feedback from you. Please have a look at the new XDEF API, try it with the MySQL shell or the new MySQL connectors, and give us feedback. With your help, we can make MySQL a great data store for relational, document, or combined models.
Thank you, Mike. I think many of you know Mike Zinner since before. He's the guy behind MySQL Workbench, our second most popular product after the MySQL Server itself. So he's been driving this document store effort for a while now, and with MySQL 5.7.12, you are able to download and test the latest stuff there that I will give like a brief introduction to at this keynote. But before I go into those details, I want to sort of paint the bigger picture of where all of this fits in. I think most of you in this room have some incarnation of this setup in your data management solution. So you have some application, they have some kind of proxy thing, R1, R2 here. You have some, maybe you don't have sharding, maybe you have sharding. You have the concept of a master and some slaves. Maybe you have a master group, which is either a semi-sync setup, or it's a DRBD setup, or some other way to have your master group managed. And then you have a bunch of read slaves. And this has been the history of MySQL for many, many years. You're able to build this, and we've added features to support you in building this over the years. We've added GTIDs in 5.6. We've added multi-threaded replication in 5.7 to be able to have faster slaves and so on. And you see GR there in the picture. That's how we envision this group replication, making the master group possible. So in this picture, what we're going to talk about in the second half of this, or what's coming here in the red parts, what Mike already mentioned, right? So we worked on the connector side to extend the connectors with more functionality. We worked on a plugin in the servers to add functionality there. And then on the side, you will see something called MySQL Shell that is also a very core component of this. In text format, the core of this is, of course, JSON and the JSON functionality in 5.7, where that's how we store the documents, that's how we manipulate the documents, etc., and find the documents and so on, the schema-less storage. And what's new now in 5.7.12 is the X protocol, the XDev API, and the MySQL Shell. The X protocol is, of course, how the client talks to the server. There's a plugin in the server that extends the MySQL server with this functionality. The Dev API is how we do SQL and document CRUD operations. First implementation here is Node.js, Connector J, and Connector Net. Of course, all the connectors will follow. And also, I want to highlight that Node.js is a new connector from our side. There has been community connectors in the past, but we now also have our own in-house Node.js connector because it's such an important part of the complete story. And then we have the MySQL Shell, which I will go into a little bit more in the coming slides. So coming back to the picture version of this, you have the client side or the application. We've extended the current connectors with more APIs, a new protocol, open up the new port through the X plugin protocol, a new port 33060, which is also reserved for MySQL now, and then the MySQL Shell, where you can interact with the server, both with the old protocol and the new protocol. So looking some more at the X protocol, you may ask yourself, so why are they making a new protocol? Why isn't the old protocol good enough? It's an old protocol. It's been around for a long, long time. Things have changed. You write your applications differently. You have your architectures differently than you did 15, 20 years ago, where the old protocol stems from. So we really thought it was time for a new protocol to interface with the MySQL server. So it gives you things like asynchronous API support, supporting parallelism, batching, pipelining, sending multiple requests, reducing round trips, push notification. It needs to be middleware friendly, so you can support things like routing, sharding, read-write splitting, and since we are not in the business of protocols, we use open standards like TLS for security, SASL for authentication, and protobuf for the protocol itself, using proven technologies, and also we want to be community friendly here. We want people to be able to add connectors in new languages very easily, and also work with us on the protocol itself. The other thing was the Dev API itself. The old Dev API, which you're very familiar with MySQL Connect, you send a SQL string, you wait for a result set, and so on. We really think it's time for a modern, fluent API with method chaining. The need for, in a distributed environment, for stateless sessions that can enable transparent scaling in multi-server environments. It will have SQL support, but also CRUD support for collections, documents, tables. And then, of course, right now we've implemented these in a number of connectors, and including the shell itself. The way this looks, you can manipulate collections, either documents through the collections, and the relational, you can do just your regular tables that you have in MySQL. You can also manipulate in this way. So this is something that resides side by side with the old, so it's not a new connector, it just extends the current connector. So you have all of your old stuff, and then you have this new stuff as well in parallel. The MySQL shell is an integrated, I mean, you know the MySQL prompt that you can pull up and you can do regular SQL. But with the MySQL shell, you have an integrated development and administration shell. It exposes a new Dev API. It has support for JavaScripting and Python as scripting languages, so it's fully scriptable. And you can, of course, run SQL as well. You can get the results out in many ways. So this is the first iteration of the shell. Moving forward in the future, this will be the one tool to manage it all. You won't have one tool to do something and then another tool to do something else. Coming back to the complete picture here in a multi-server environment, sharded, etc., it's the MySQL shell that's going to drive this. And just to give you more concrete, showing what this is, here's just a very simple, if you download 5.7.12 and start running the MySQL shell, you start the shell, you connect it, you get some information there, you create a collection called posts, you add a document into it, you can then find it, sort it, and you get it printed out. So in this way, you can interact with the MySQL server without knowing any SQL whatsoever. So to summarize, MySQL document store, we build on the proven technologies that have been around in MySQL for many years, like SQL, InnoDB, replication, so you get all the tooling and capabilities that these have. You can run schemaless, you can run relational, or you can run hybrids, because these documents that you create, you can, of course, use SQL on them. With the features that we have in 5.7, you can join them, you can search in them, you can sort them, etc., etc. Anything you can do with SQL. Through the InnoDB storage engine, we have ACID transactions. It's a modern Dev API, efficient protocol, and you can get transparent and easy HA scaling and sharding here. To learn more about this, the different parts of this, there is an introduction that was yesterday on the MySQL document store. You can learn more about group replication yesterday. And tomorrow, on Thursday, there's also what's new in 5.7, and there you can learn some more about the JSON functionality. And then also in the morning on tomorrow, you can get more under the hood around the MySQL document store in details. And of course, as I said, there's also the 5.7 talk this afternoon at 4:30 that you can learn more about as well. There's just tons of resources on this. We've put a lot of effort into document all of this in a very rigorous way. So the dev API is documented, the protocol is documented, the shell is documented, and there are tons of blogs as well that explains what we're doing here. So I really hope that you will look at this, and as Mike was saying in the video, we really want your feedback on this topic, because this is really the first iteration of this. We released the first versions here with CRUD operations. You will be able to do joins, etc., through this API down the line. So please give us input and feedback on this as soon as possible. The sooner we can integrate it into the product, the better. We really want to have community interaction on this. And this completes my keynote for today. Thank you very much.